Hello and happy May. It is May Vlogs on the float, and if you can see behind me, right over there, there are some adorable new additions to the landscape. There are some Canada geese. Oh, just over here, and they've got little babies, but then I'm looking over at the float house here, and we have a beautiful swan who's come to visit. Hello, I wasn't expecting you. How are you today? Say good morning, it's May. We're gonna start some vlogs today. That's an exciting thing to do. You would love some popcorn right now. But for now, we'll just say a quick hello and we're gonna go inside. But hello, sweetie. Say hello to everybody. I actually have not seen the swans around very much. Now I think this one is the one that my neighbors call Bendy because his neck is a little bit off kilter, and there are two others and they're a pair, but I think this one is actually Bendy, who we don't see very often. But a surprise visit on May the 1st. Now if you look very, very closely, there is one little gosling just in front of the two Canada geese there, and he's just puttering around or pottering around. And then there are, I think there are 4 or 5 of them all together. One is just over here. There is another, I'm hoping you can spot them in the grasses because they camouflage in really, really well. Anyway, there are 4 of them, and I did get some video of them a little bit closer earlier. I'll zoom out so that maybe you can, if you've got eagle eyes, spot them. And there are 2 actually right by the front Canada goose, and one just popped down. So there are 3 right by the Canada goose that is eating, and then the other Canada goose is keeping guard, watching for people like me to make sure that, you know, I don't attack the baby goslings. So I believe there are 5 here because there is one up on the rise a little bit, and then by the mama goose there, I'm assuming it's the mama goose, there are 3, 2 in front of her, and now she's up by the other one, so there are 3 by her, and then there's another one just back, and then there is another one by the papa goose, or the watching goose. So there they are, and that is a lovely way to start off our May vlogs, I think. I'm going to head inside and we're going to have a little chat, a cup of tea. 1, 2, there might actually even be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 5. Okay. They all get lost in the grasses, and it's hard to count them sometimes. Anyway, we're going to head inside, have some tea, and a little chat. We have 3 swans that live around the float home, and as I mentioned, this one here is, I believe, Bendy, and the other 2 that you have met previously are Prancer and Dancer, and I believe they're nesting from what I understand. I hear they have 7 eggs that they are looking after, and these swans don't really get along all that well. They like to, they're a bit dominant over their area, so Prancer and Dancer generally will chase this guy off, but as I mentioned, Prancer and Dancer are doing some nesting right now. These are my strawberries, but yeah, it's nice to see a swan out and about today. So a very, very beautiful sight. One thing you may not know is that swans and Canada geese don't get along so well, and swans tend to try and chase them away, so they make themselves much bigger and chase them away, especially at nesting time and when they're trying to defend their turf. But this guy wants to come in, and this guy wants no part of him. He just wants to say hello today. I had planned to start the monthly vlogs off a little bit differently, but when I stepped outside and I saw the geese there with their goslings, I just had to grab the camera and go outside and start from there. And then the surprise visit by Bendy was just that, a wonderful surprise visit. Welcome to May Vlogs. My name is Tracy and I live on a float home in the Vancouver area, if you've never visited with me before. And outside the door there are birds. We have eagles that live in the trees just across the river, and it is a very interesting and different place to live. So if you are new to the Knitting on the Float podcast or vlog series, which we're going to do vlogs this month, welcome. And if you are returning, I bet you are just so happy to see those little goslings, the return of the spring wildlife, and it's always just such a fun thing to see what's happening off of the float house. So this month I have decided to do a May vlog series, and I want to focus on getting my craft space straightened out, organized. I guess straightened out, organized, very similar. A place that I want to go and spend time, and I just want to make this feel like it is a livable space. We've now lived in the float home for about a year and a half. All the boxes have been unpacked, but the craft space and the loft area in general aren't quite the way I would like to have them. So this month we're gonna go day by day, and we're just gonna try and do little jobs to slowly make this space become a very usable and welcoming space to easily work on crafts and to find materials, all that stuff. But before we do that, I think it is time for a cup of tea, and I am using my Rendale Designs Country Mice mug. I love this one. And let us cheer to a happy May. Cheers to that. And we will get started with today's job, which is just a very simple one. Looking at the space, and I'm just going to talk you through it. We're not going to do anything major today. We'll leave that for the days ahead. But for now, let's just enjoy a quick sip of tea. Normally we are focused on the downstairs area, but we are going to go up to the loft and take a look around. It's gonna be a little bit messy up there. I warn you now. Just over in this space here, that is my crafting space, and that is where I would like to keep most of my things. And then this space over here is a bit of a sitting space. We have a desk for Greg up there, and it's just a nice relaxing place to hopefully sit, look out, and enjoy seeing all those beautiful birds, wildlife, and watching the river go by. If you've been with me for a while, you will remember this picture. It used to be over the comfy couch in our home in Toronto. And this is now featured in our loft. And I have sort of worked on this space a little bit. We have a couple of chairs here, but I do not want the ironing board in the middle of the loft area. So I do want to get that moved so that it's easily taken out, put away in the craft area. So this is the sitting area of the loft, and I have set up some of Greg's antique radios over here, and there may be a little bit of yarn under the table here as well. The scary part of the loft, and I am trying to be brave right now to share this with you, is over here, and it is absolute chaos. So there is yarn, there is a sewing table with a sewing machine, there are mats, my old computer, mess. It is just an absolute mess, and I want to get this space organized because right now it is absolute chaos. So it is a beautiful space, or it can be a beautiful space once it is all done. But for now, I can't stand coming up here because it's too overwhelming. So I want this space to look a little bit more like this space, but I want this space to be a lot calmer as well. So there are a couple of things that I want to change in this area first. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to bring my desk with the computer over to this area here where the ironing board and the cabinet are. And the china cabinet is actually going to go into the craft space. So let's go back to the scary craft space again. In the corner where my yarn bins are stacked and falling over, I'm going to put the china cabinet. This desk here with the chair and the computer is going to move across, and then I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to put the sewing table against the window or leave it where it is. And then here I have a beautiful Lane cedar chest, which is under more yarn, I know, and we're going to put that downstairs, and I have another piece of furniture I'm going to bring up, which will provide a bit of storage. Anyway, I think that is all I can handle of this space right now because it just looks a little bit scary. The loft should be a calming space where you can just look out over the water and really enjoy the view and looking at nature. But the loft for me has been very, very overwhelming. So, and as you can tell, it's just a little bit scary. It's a lot of bit scary actually. But how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. Every day throughout May, we're just going to tackle a small little job. So some of those jobs will be bigger than others, such as moving furniture, and I'm going to need a little bit of help from my family. So along the way, if you haven't met Greg, Isaac, or Nathaniel, we may meet them. Greg is my husband, and Isaac and Nathaniel are my two boys. Their bedrooms are up here, so they have to walk through this chaos every time they come up here. But I would like to, at some point, make this a really welcoming and relaxing space. And as I said, have a very organized and wonderful craft area where it's nice to go and enjoyable to sit for a while. Do some sewing, do some knitting, maybe some spinning, or even some circular sock machine knitting. Anyway, we're going to go downstairs and I'm going to have a quick share of what I have worked on the past few days, and then we will call it a day. Is it any surprise that most of the time I like to sit down here? It's a lot more calm. Things are a lot more in place, they have their homes. I have to admit, I really struggle to go upstairs because I find the clutter not a little overwhelming, a lot overwhelming. So I am looking forward to spending the next month with you and turning that crazy, chaotic space into a calm crafting space where I will be very proud to share the end result with you. Right now it was just maybe a little embarrassing. It was a little chaotic. Anyway, let us have another quick sip of tea. Get the calm back. And I wanted to share with you what I got up to this weekend crafting wise. My lovely Fireflies bag by Bags by Awesome Granny has my 2nd Avenue wrap in it, and I am happy to say my 2nd Avenue wrap is off the needles. It is done, sort of. I have lots of ends still to secure, especially in the rugby section. I did start doing a few of them, but I still have quite a few more ends to still sew in. But I am so pleased with how this 2nd Avenue wrap kit knit up. This was a kit that I purchased from the Knitting Loft in Toronto, and it started off with a gorgeous scalloped edge in Golden Apple. It then went into a little stockinette in Peony. There was a striping section in Burlap and Peony, back to stockinette in Peony. This beautiful eyelet section in Dreamy, followed by a stockinette with garter ridge section in Ogre, back to eyelets in Burlap, and then we had the rugby stripes in Ogre and Golden Delicious, and then we have a little stockinette with a picot bind off in Peony. And I am going to absolutely love wearing this one in the fall, because I think right now, although it is a bit gray today, I think it's probably a little bit too warm, or we're going into the warmer weather, that this will probably be more of a fall winter scarf, or wrap. So anyway, a beautiful kit, and I'm happy to say it is finally off the needles, other than those ends and blocking, of course. So that's something that happened this weekend, and it was a Christmas miracle. I picked up my lovely Vintage Fairy Lights bag, and today, where is it? Scout, oh, silly Scout, sat on my bag, and I pulled it from underneath, and I pulled off the tag. I know, it's not the end of the world, but it made me kind of sad. I am continuing work on my Christmas Eve cast on. Now, this was my Christmas Eve cast on in 2021 and 2022. And the reason is because in 2021, I cast this on with the idea of doing the Be the Light socks by Alice Jeffries. And when I got through the cuff, I realized that I had the wrong amount of stitches, because I was trying to work a toe up sock cuff down, and then I realized I had done it all wrong. So I sat on it for a year, and the sock 2, which I have started, I cast this on Christmas Eve 2022, so this past Christmas. I just have a little bit of this lovely gold color. So cast on 2. The Be the Light socks weren't going to work, so what I did was I changed it up, and I am doing the Feathering the Nest socks, which is a lovely pattern by Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins, the maker of the bag that the tag fell off today. And I have been working away. I am now through the heel. So the last time that we visited, I was about here. And well, the last time we visited and I shared this when I was about here. So I have gotten through a good chunk of the leg, the heel flap and gusset and heel turn, and I am now in the foot. And I made a really silly mistake. It's got this gorgeous patterning. I accidentally patterned one of the repeats, or half a repeat, on the bottom of the foot. I think maybe it'll just add a little bit of traction, right? So when you're walking around in stocking feet, it's got that little bit of attraction there. Design feature. Anyway, these are coming along nicely. I am thinking that I may do a green toe. My Feathering the Nest socks got a lot of love this past weekend, and it felt really good to pull up a whip out of the knitting drawer and get some work done on it. So I'm hoping that I may be able to finish these by the end of May. That would be really, really nice, and continue to work down those whips. I will slowly be working on securing ends on my Second Avenue wrap and then getting this blocked. But a lot of blocking requires space. This is going to require space, and the big space in this house is up in that loft that we are going to tackle this month. Scout has come up to join us. Hello, Scout. Well, I will admit to you that taking on vlogs this month is a very, very scary thing for me. I am making myself a little bit vulnerable, showing you the crazy mess up there. And I'm also making myself accountable to you as well. I know there's lots of times I've said, I'm gonna clean the loft up. It hasn't gotten done yet. So hopefully over the next 30 days, because today is day one, we will have that space looking beautiful and easy to get into, find things, and a place that I want to spend time. So thank you for joining me throughout the month ahead, and I don't know what we'll get up to tomorrow. We're gonna do it slowly. So how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. Tomorrow we're going to take our first bite out of the loft. And yes, it is going to be probably a little bit scary, at least for me. I am wishing you a wonderful day, and I hope to see you tomorrow when we start taking those little bites. Bye. Well, of course, we need to make sure we come out, take a nice deep breath, take in these adorable little goslings while they are still super, super little. There are two right here, and there are a couple down the way. Anyway, that is how we are going to end May 1st. And I hope that wherever you are, you have had a fantastic day and have enjoyed today's vlog.